the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution, from Cowork 591 Studios in the Annex. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber, and this is the Jesup News for December 18th, 2023.
Almost over, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. We're going to make it. On today's podcast, we celebrate the holidays in the band gazebo, and we go back on that. We talk about winners and losers. We talk about the 2023 award winners and losers for that part.
Got to have the losers if you have winners.
Yeah. We talk about the Steve Brown Arts Center supporter, Donnie Jacobson, who's been a guest on here and a great supporter for us. We give you the top stories in Jesup, Iowa, and we discuss service and art. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. Programming will include a community speaker series that will showcase existing creatives who reside within the community, as well as a pop-up series that will spotlight and partner with local businesses to provide opportunities for community engagement. The long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for the contribution of labor and maintenance of the buildings and the ground. Let's get right at it, Dale.
All right.
Let's go to the winners and losers for this week.
Oh, just for the week. Okay.
Just for this week.
I have for the whole year.
Okay, well then let's.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
We can. You want to do this week?
Let's let this week go by and just do the yearly thing. Is that all right?
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. As our viewers and our listeners understand, we are organized chaos, believe it or not. But I'm sure by now you understand after over 50 shows. So, and I'm proud to say that. The weeks go by fast, don't they, Blake? All right, so let's go right to it. This is the year, and we're doing the year 2023 in review.
Right.
So we've got a list. I took the list over to Dale's house, gave him a chance to do a little research, actually, rather than catching him off balance. So let's start, Dale, with the 2023 death of the most influential person. Who'd you have?
Okay, I chose Henry Kissinger. Former Secretary of State, and people probably today who weren't around at that time do not realize the impact this man had on politics and world events when he was in his prime. And there was even talk, he was born in Germany, was an immigrant from Germany, and there was even talk of maybe we could change the Constitution so he could run for president even. And so he had he did a lot of good things, especially with relationship with China and then with the Vietnam War and everything. And he kind of messed up later on with the arms deals that kind of messed up his legacy, I think. But he was you cannot believe how a non-elected person could be so influential in this country. And he had the ear of presidents and kings and leaders all over the world and was very well respected. And a lot of the things he advocated for came true. You know, they happened because he brought them up and he pushed them. And so I chose Henry Kissinger.
My choice for this most influential death of 2023 was the great running back, Jim Brown.
Okay.
Now, before we say, well, he's only sports, Jim Brown was actually involved with Martin Luther King Jr. He was involved with Malcolm X. He was involved in civil rights movement. Arguably the greatest athlete ever to play in the NFL. He was a Renaissance man for his time. He was in movies and on television. Mm-hmm. Jim Brown had a great impact on the culture. I think Henry Kissinger probably had the world. Jim Brown would have been more the United States.
Sure. Okay.
So that's a good one.
All right.
Okay, so the 2023 world's biggest news story of the year.
kind of tied the problems in Israel and Gaza, and then also the fighting in Ukraine, that many times in history, little bitty firefights have blossomed into things such as world wars. And that thing in Israel scares me because that's one of those things where things could get inflamed so much that there's no turning back, with lots and lots of countries involved. And also with Ukraine, with the United States government in stalemate and not able to help them, I think if the Ukraine government folds, or if they fall to Russia, I think that in turn will turn into a lot of bad things in the future. And so I think those news stories that are happening now will impact us a lot in the future, depending on which way they go, of course. But they have real potential to be bad things. So that's what I chose.
Those are really good. I have for the year 2023 artificial intelligence. AI.
Oh, okay. That's a good one, too.
Yeah. The artificial intelligence can get us into the same situations that you're talking about, Dale, with getting the voice, getting our vision online, and people seeing us online. They can change that so easy now that we're on YouTube. Blake, I don't know how you block them for us and stop that. I know Dale and I will be butchered at some point.
They'll be after us, won't they? So.
Yeah, but if you go back, I don't know if you remember this, in September, the Ferentz boy that is the offensive coordinator for the Hawkeyes was blamed for telling people to kiss his backside.
Yeah.
And it wasn't him at all. And it took about a day to get that out.
Yeah.
And it looked just like he said it. So I'm afraid something like that, the better it gets, get that in the right, get that to an Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And that could be really bad.
Yeah, no, it's scary because they have this political commercial now where it's a split screen and Trump's on one side and DeSantis is on the other, and it shows DeSantis mimicking whatever Trump does. He does the same thing over there, and who knows how they put that together. But I know these people are spending millions of dollars on political ads, but if you believe anything they say, you can't trust it. You just can't trust it. And the one where poor Nikki Haley, they get after her because she said one time that Hillary Clinton inspired her to get into politics. Well, I bet a lot of girls and women were inspired to get into politics by Hillary Clinton. Doesn't mean they agreed with her with everything, but her example of working with her husband when he was president and going out on her own, becoming a senator and running for president, I think a lot of girls took that as, hey, it can be done.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't see anything wrong with her saying that, but they're making it out like she's a traitor to the Republican Party for something she said probably 25 years ago. Yeah. So if you believe those political ads, you're doing yourself a disservice. I think you can't believe anything that's on there because you just don't know.
No. I'll start with this one. The 2023 movie of the year was the movie Rustin. I spoke about that a couple weeks ago, actually, on here. Rustin, the star of it was Coleman Domingo, about Baird Rustin. He was the man that organized the March on Washington back in 1963.
Oh, sure. I remember you talking about him.
Because he was homosexual, he was hidden by the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And he probably had as good of communication skills as Martin Luther King Jr. But he was caught in a car with two men out in California when he was young. He was openly homosexual in the 1960s when it was unacceptable.
Yeah.
And because of that, he never got the recognition that he deserved.
Yeah.
So that was the movie Rustin.
Okay. I chose Top Gun Maverick because that was one of the first ones to come out after the code was all through, and it was a big blockbuster, and it really got people back into the theaters. I thought it really kind of revived the movie industry after been sitting there dormant for a year or longer. And so I thought that was a very influential movie of what it did for show business and making movies. And of course, then they had the actor strike, so it all fell to pieces. But at its time, it was very influential, and I thought it was interesting that Tom Cruise and I can't remember the other, but the next movies that came out that were big, they bought tickets and made advertisements saying, we're going to go see these movies in the theater themselves. They had pre-purchased tickets trying to, not just for their own movies, but for movies in general, get people back into the theaters. And so I thought that was a good move on their part. So I thought it was a very influential movie.
Did you go to that movie in the
Yes,
theater?
I did. Yeah, yeah. And I enjoyed it very much.
You know, there were a couple others that were very influential. They were posted as Barbenheimer, the mixture of Barbie and Oppenheimer.
But see, they came out after this. This one came out first because they had worked on it before, and then so when the COVID restrictions were lifted, this sort of thing, they were ready to finish it up, put it together, get it out there, and so that's why. But yeah, those movies you mentioned were very. Though did you see the Barbie movie?
I didn't.
I did not.
No.
I would not do it. I can't even wear a pink shirt.
No, I didn't. All right, so who was the entertainer of the year for 2023?
Got to be that Swift girl, right? Taylor Swift. Never. I was telling my son, I said, I don't believe, because I listen to 60s radio and 50s radio, and so I don't believe I've ever heard a song of hers sung from beginning to end because I'm not listening to that music. So it was kind of a surprise to me when she all at once, she just, I guess she didn't explode because she's been around a while now. She's in her 30s, but this huge popularity that she has caught me by surprise because I did not know her. I guess I still don't know her. But is it Tony Romo thinks she's married to? Did you hear that?
No.
He referred to on the football. They showed her up in the box in the booth, and he referred to her as Kelsey's wife.
Yeah,
and got a lot of feedback from that, I guess. So
the Kelsey. Or not Kelsey, but Romo at first was a star for CBS, and CBS is after him right now because he doesn't prepare a lot for his. Oh, we could have him on our podcast.
Yeah, he would fit right in.
Yeah, he would fit right in with us, I think.
I've only seen. I'm sorry, we done? Okay, I've only seen him one time. I was at a Chicago Cubs game, and they had this catwalk up there that goes into the broadcasting where Harry Carey is and this sort of thing. And Romo was going to sing the Take Me Out to the Ball Game in the 7th inning. Right. And so you could see him come out of the box and walk along the catwalk to go into that booth to do that. And when they announced his name, the Cubs fans, of course, just booed him like crazy. Right. And I was very amused by that. Because he was a big Cowboys guy. So, All right.
I had a tie here. Taylor Swift and Coleman Domingo. I mentioned him earlier on from the movie Rustin.
Okay.
Coleman Domingo is absolutely amazing. They did a nice job on his makeup. He changed his voice. They do amazing things with people's ages in the movie. They can make people older. They can make people young. Yeah. In the movie, it's really it's amazing. And with his AI, they'll be able to do that a lot more, I think.
I think Blake could freshen us up a little bit if he put his mind to it.
I think we ask him to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll stay in entertainment a little bit. Who is the 2023 Athlete of the Year, Dale?
Well, I chose that young Mr. Purdy that plays football for San Francisco. His story is very interesting, how he just kind of came out of nowhere, was the last guy drafted, and one guy gets hurt, another guy gets hurt, he gets a chance to play and lights out and doing really, really well. And then to get hurt and not play or not, take the summer off to rehab and then to come back this fall and some people say he's the MVP of the National Football League right now, the way he's playing. And so to me, that's a neat story. And I also chose Caitlin Clark for the women's side. I think that her story is fantastic. I was going to comment on her a little bit later, but what she has done, women's basketball and probably women's sports in general, I think can never be overemphasized. She has really, I think, gotten a lot of attention for women's sports and a lot of fans to women's events. And I think a lot of little girls are going to start bouncing basketballs around and playing volleyball and all this stuff, seeing what can happen if you put your mind to it and you want to do it. So
I want you to watch for a lady out in Utah. Her last name is Pili, P-I-L-I.
Okay.
She had 34 or 37 against the number one team in the nation the other night recently, and she's 6'2". And my female post players taught me not to call post players big women. She's a post player for Utah.
Yeah.
And she's incredible.
Yeah.
And she's from a village up in Alaska.
Yeah.
And,
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she basketball is huge in Alaska.
I know you have talked about that before on the show, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you would find 4 or 5, 6 or more women that could play basketball like Caitlin Clark, I think that'd be wonderful.
Right.
It's not just this one that happened in Iowa, but there's a lot of girls that can play really, really well. I think that would be great for the sport. And so, the more the merrier. Bring them on. So.
I'm watching. My Google feed. I must have clicked on something. My Google feed shares news from LSU.
Okay.
And remember, LSU beat Iowa in the national championship last year. They're having a lot of internal strife.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
And because of that, lady either walked off or was kicked off here this week. I wonder, because a lot of 5 stars went to LSU. Louisiana has a different name, image, and likeness law than Iowa or a lot of states. Louisiana and Tennessee probably have the best name, image, and likeness. And I'm not talking just football or basketball, but the laws. And I wish I was smart enough to tell you why they're better.
Yeah.
But everything that I read and hear says that. And LSU is going through having big names there.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. But you're right, Caitlin advertises herself, and she shares with her teammates as well.
Mm-hmm. So
my athlete of the year is Shohei Ohtani.
okay.
I
I have him later in another category.
okay. Shohei Ohtani
Yeah.
was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, and he was one of the best pitchers. He was 10-3 this year, and he just recently received, what was it, a $750 million contract.
$700 million.
Yeah, with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The Dodgers might have the first 3 hitters in the Dodgers lineup might be the best 3 players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So he is.
Well, I have some news about that.
I
I can bring it up later. I have him down here on the list. I'll bring it up later. Okay.
All right, we'll talk about that
All right.
later. Who is the international winner of the year?
Yeah, well, I had trouble with this, but there's President Zelensky of the Ukraine, for him to still be in office and still have, as far as everything I've read, the people of his country behind him, and he's still working hard trying to defeat the Russians and get other countries to support him. And so it'd probably be real easy for him to get discouraged after all this happening. It's been another whole year and everything. But from the news reports I've read, he appears to be still has a strong mindset and is very confident that he's going to prevail in this battle. And so I chose him. So.
He is in our country this week, I think.
Yeah, he has been talking to people in Washington, D.C., so.
It's weird. The Russians were our arch enemies for years, especially to the Republican Party, and the Republicans are almost pro-Russian.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a smart enough person to understand why, Dale.
Yeah, I don't either.
My international win of the year was Shohei Ohtani, obviously for the income that he made for him and his family. His contract was unique. First few years, up until 35, he takes like $2 million a year, something like that.
That's the stuff I was going to tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no,
all right. It was just in there. I saw it tonight, so go ahead.
I won't talk about that.
Oh, well, you can.
No, well, I'll save that for us.
All right.
Okay. Who is the international loser of the year?
Well, I put Putin down because if you can imagine us attacking Mexico with the huge army military budget we have and everything, and only getting, 25, 30 miles in and then getting stopped like a, kaboom, and even driven back some, I think there'd be an outrage in this country. And for him, with a huge amount of firepower at his disposal, to be stuck the way he is really shows the weakness of his government and how they were entirely unprepared to wage any kind of war like this, and how stupid it was to go in unprepared. And the thousands and thousands of young soldiers that are getting killed in his army who shouldn't be there, who are not trained and don't have the right weapons, and yet they are getting slaughtered, I think shows again his total lack of regard for anybody but himself. And so I think he's a big loser. I think history will show him as a big loser.
You go back, Dale, to World War I, and Tsar Nicholas took a lot of casualties from World War I and would put them in refrigerated warehouses because so many people were killed.
Sure.
And did not want their families to know that they were killed.
Yeah.
And so they would go for weeks, many times months, and not hear from their families, and then get a death notice. And I'm afraid that probably Putin is doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's not a very nice man, I guess is the best way to put it. And I don't have much to do with people that have no regard for other people's lives just because you don't have to. And some of the greatest generals we've had were great generals because not only could they win battles, but they cared about the people that fought for them and did everything they could in their planning to make sure they had as few casualties as possible. And so I think that's what makes war is never good, but you need to have as few casualties as possible. That's right. I would hate to have fought in World War I. What a terrible, if you think about all the crap that went on there. And even just like the flu killed more people than the bullets did, And then all those charges across no man's land just to get mowed down by machine guns and this sort of thing. Idiotic and...
just athlete's foot in the bunkers alone. Walking in the water all the time.
Yeah, the rats were huge, and you saw them. It was a Kirk Douglas movie, and it's actual happened where the French soldiers weren't attacking with enough aggression, and so they took one out of every 10 and executed them just to pep up the rest of the guys. You didn't have to be guilty of anything; you just drew by lot, and every now and then they shot somebody because they weren't fighting hard enough in their opinion. And so, that's the kind of, again, arrogance that leaders had, that the value of their soldiers was so minuscule that, there's something coming out about the soldiers. I think it's before America was involved. At Christmas, they just kind of called their own truce. And they met out in the middle of no man's land and had a little Christmas tree and sang some carols, and the leaders got all upset because, how can you fight a war if the soldiers aren't mad at each other? Right. And so they put a kibosh on the whole thing. But I think there's something, either a book or a movie or something coming out about that event. But if the soldiers don't fight, then you can't have a war. That bothers the leaders. Yeah,
it does. My loser of the year was this one, the international FIFA championships this year.
Mm-hmm.
And a huge celebration, but I noticed the coach wasn't celebrated with. Well, it came out that the coach was a big sexist, and they tried to run him out when they got back to Spain. Well, they didn't run him out, so the country turned on the head of FIFA in Spain, and he resigned. Went to a press conference to resign, said, I don't resign, I'm not resigning, I'm not going to be pressured out.
Yeah.
Well, it took so much crap that he finally did resign. But it is, the Spanish women were incredible in this year's World Cup. So but they were losers because of their leaders.
Yeah.
The national winner of the year, who do you have?
Okay, that's why I put that Otana down for that. For a couple of reasons. One, of course, you've mentioned what a tremendous baseball player he is, but he's also smart and has some smart advisors. So he's got a 10-year contract for $700 million. He's only taking $2 million a year, and he's deferring $680 million that will be paid to him from 2034 to 2043 in equal payments. This helps the Dodgers with their luxury tax problems, and he doesn't need the money. Right. So he's going to take $2 million, but they said that by the time he's drawing that money, the big money. The California tax rate is 13.3%. Well, at that time, he will be living somewhere else, probably Japan, and so he's going to save a lot of money on not paying those California taxes. And so I think he has gotten some good advice, and it must have a head on his shoulders to figure all this stuff out. But so I thought that was really neat how he's got the money, got the contract, but he's helping his team off the field in a way that they need help, and also securing his future. I would think his great-great-grandchildren's future all the way along, So so I thought he did really, really well.
He did, and everybody thinks he was a winner here, but the owners were the winner here as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because the winners could borrow that money and have that money on the account, turn around and invest that money for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're going to make money off of that account.
I wish I could remember the player, but he was talking about he quit playing years ago, but he said he gets $1 million a year from his team for 25 years or something, that he had deferred that money so that he has a guaranteed income in his old age. And I thought, well, that would be a smart way instead of getting, $50 million a year and all that's taxes, where get 25 or whatever you can live on. Could you live on 25 million? And then have that money deferred. Yeah. It helps your team. It also kind of gives you a life insurance policy in your old age as far as steady income. So I think it's a good idea. I'm sure a lot of players are doing this one way or the other.
Barry Bonds.
Was it Barry Bonds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Barry Bonds on that issue runs out in 35, the same year that Ohtani's big numbers start.
Oh, okay.
But the Bonds also gets the interest every year.
Oh.
So he gets $1 million and then $800,000 extra dollars.
Okay. As I understand it, Ohtani is not taking any interest. There's no interest involved. There's an article in the Register today, but he's not taking any interest. If I remember that, I just read it a few minutes before I came on air, and he's not taking any interest. He's just taking equal payments of that $680 million for 10 years or whatever. So I don't think there's any interest involved from the. I have to read it again now that you brought that up. But
we might be able to run quite an art center with that kind of money.
Yes, we could. Yeah. Half for salaries and the other half to build the buildings.
There you go. All right. So the my national winner of the year was performer Harry Styles, and I've never heard an entire song by Harry Styles either. But he would be Taylor Swift of males.
Okay.
Sort of took over for Kanye. I've read a lot about Kanye, and Kanye was very intelligent, but is dealing with some mental issues.
Yeah.
And Harry Styles has overtaken him through income and like.
Yeah.
So
Jimmy Fallon mentioned the Beatles one night on his show, and then he said, for those of you who don't know who the Beatles are, imagine 4 Taylor Swifts in matching suits. Which is about the reaction they got from people was the same as she's getting. So that's amazing what she can do.
Yeah.
How the crowd she can draw. So.
She and everybody thinks, I could go out and sing. She performs 3 times a week in front of 70,000 people.
Yeah.
For 2 hours. It is amazing what she does.
Well, my daughter took my granddaughter to see the movie that she made of this concert. Right. And she did just absolutely fantastic. And so the place was just full and just everybody, all excited about just watching her in this movie.
Yeah.
And so that's quite a reaction. So
That is. The national loser of the year, who do you have, Dale?
Well, I have Ron DeSantis because when he first came out, I didn't know anything about him. He first came out with his press conference about running for president, and he had this young wife and these 2 little children, all very adorable and everything. I said, man, this guy against these old people that are running on the other end, he's going to be hard to beat. But it just seemed like he's been shooting himself in the foot all this time, and he cannot seem to make any ground up. And so I think for whatever he had going for him, I think he lost it all from what I can tell, at least from what I see here in Iowa. And so I think right now he's my loser of the year.
That's a good one. He doesn't have the social skills that a politician needs to have.
Yeah. I also had a note here about the country is all this organized theft, these gangs that crash into stores and break cases and steal stuff, and that's becoming a real problem, and billions of dollars in loss to the businesses, which makes our prices go up in the things we buy. And so that seems to be a real problem that in the big cities they're not able to get a handle on right yet. And so I think that's something to keep an eye on as far as how it hurts this country.
Yeah, that is. You talked about, what did you call it, where they packages at your door?
Yeah.
What's that called?
Porch pirates.
Porch pirates, yeah. That is stuff that you just don't imagine.
Most of the stuff is not that valuable. I mean, maybe not your order. I don't know what you could order that would be expensive, but I would think most of that real expensive stuff you would take more precautions as far as having it delivered. I don't know, but if someone wants to steal your bedroom slippers that you ordered or whatever for your grandfather, why? So I don't know, because as far as I can tell, they don't know what's in the box. They just see a box and they go and get it.
Yeah.
And so
I've thought about getting a camera, and there are a lot of hunting cameras out at my place, around my place.
Yeah.
But I don't have a direct camera on my house.
yeah, and I don't either. I just
If they want it, they're going to take it.
Well, yeah. And if anybody wants my electronics, they're in bad shape because they're all about as old as I am. It's just pretty sad. So,
My loser was George Santos.
Okay, yeah.
I believe he's the 6th congressman to be kicked out of the House of Representatives in the over 200 years of our country's history.
Yeah.
Just did some stuff, Dale.
Defies belief, doesn't it?
He lied, said his mother was a genocide survivor. He said he adopted dogs. He said, just lied. Lied.
Yeah.
Stole from his account. So
and yet in the House, there was some problem because they wanted to keep him because he's part of their majority.
Right.
And so even though he's a rascal, and that's the nice word for him, they said, well, we'll keep him around because he votes with us, But that's not good for New York, his district, or it's not good for the country to think like that. But yet that's what's going on, and that's what the problem is. It's all party loyalty.
I'm not sure when that election is. If that is the second Tuesday of January, I'm not sure.
It has to be pretty soon, because the governor of New York has to call for that election, I believe.
But George Santos is my loser of the year.
He's a good one.
Thank you. So the Iowa winner of the year, Dale.
Well, I picked the anti-carbon pipeline people because there was some big money behind this plan to put this pipeline through Iowa to pump away the carbon that's produced by the ethanol plants or whatever. And they wanted to use eminent domain to take people's land if they wouldn't sign it over. And as of right now, as far as I know, the protesters have won the day, and they're pretty much abandoning their plan, build this pipeline. So I thought to fight the system and fight the big money people and to win out legally, not blowing things up or whatever, but going through the court system and this sort of thing, I thought that was a good thing. So I thought they're my winners for Iowa.
I wonder where, and we haven't done a very good job, or I haven't done a very good job on reporting on this. I wonder where the wind turbines are for south of town right now.
Yeah, I have not heard anything. There was an article, though, about how you can, just simple little things with those things, with the turbines, to keep the birds and bats away from them so that not so many are killed.
Right.
And one of them was just like paint one blade black and the other blade white, and that kind of thing. There's simple things you can do to protect the birds and the bats from being killed by those things. So the purpose of the article was say, we shouldn't get all upset by it. They can be fixed. You can, for very little money, you can make them safe for birds and bats, and also quiet the noise down a little bit. And so they were really pushing. They thought wind turbines should be an important part of our energy system. So I don't know. I have not heard anything more. And those things a lot of times take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of regulations you got to go through. So
Yeah.
I have not heard anything more about that.
My winner of the year in Iowa was Caitlin Clark. Obviously, led her team to the national championship game, is one of the lead NIL people in the women's game is, I see she just signed a contract with Gatorade.
Yeah.
She does a good job of representing Iowa basketball and women's basketball in particular. She is my Iowa winner.
Okay.
The Iowa loser of the year, Dale.
I chose the public schools. I think what happened with the legislature this last year and all the money that was siphoned out of the public education system to go to private schools, and then all of the, I guess you call it censorship, where people are all excited about different books, and some of them have been taught in the schools for years. I just think that once you start propping up private schools that are a lot of the way unregulated, and schools that do not have to provide for people that have certain problems, I think that's a bad thing. So I think the public schools were the big losers this last year.
You know, I see that in Independence next year there's going to be a Christian school.
Yeah.
Just saw that in the paper, and John Klasmo does a nice job of reporting that. Mm-hmm. And so that makes three. You know, they have St. John's, you know, and that goes K-8. They have, obviously, the public school. Now they're going to have a Christian school in Independence.
Well, there's a display in Des Moines now, I think it's just for 2 weeks, of the devil, and it's getting people all excited. And the governor said that people should just pray for it to go away or whatever, I don't know. But if you started a school devoted to the devil, that would be a religious school, in a way, and I don't think that's what the Christians think. It's going to be Christian churches, Christian schools. Most of it is going to be, but it could very easily turn into something that they're not going to be happy with, because once the door is open, anybody can walk in it. And so I think I like it when church people don't get involved with public government, because every time you think of a state where the church has a big influence in how the government is run, things don't go well. And so I just don't care for that at all. And I think the more they get involved with government, the worse things are going to be.
I see many of the parochial schools in our state are raising their costs more to go to them. So the prices are going up.
Well, sure.
You know, they're not only getting the money from property tax, but they're also getting
more tuition money. Yeah. Well, see, with health insurance, once health insurance became the thing, then medical costs went up. Because if they say, okay, Medicare will pay $800 for this operation, we only charge $300, but if we can get $800, we'll charge $800. And I think it's the same thing with that, with what you're talking about. That's you never save any money. Whatever you got, the cost will rise to meet whatever your income is.
Yeah.
And so you never get ahead, I don't think.
It is. There was a big study out, and Kenya has universal basic income, and there's huge success with that. And people in our country just argue there's no way inflation will get out of control. Well, there's no inflation in Kenya. Yeah. But they still want to argue that. You're right. Numbers go up. You can't stop it.
I think it was on 60 Minutes, the coal miners in West Virginia, to get to the coal, they used to drill through coal and they got black lung disease later in their career. Well, now a lot of people in their 30s are getting the black lung disease, and they found that they have to drill through more rock now to get to the coal than they used to, and the rock dust is finer, and so they're breathing this in, and so their lungs are basically turning into rocks, and so they can't breathe. And so they're fighting, and who's fighting this? The people that own the coal mines. They don't want to pay out any more to have these people treated, or they talked to the one miner, and he was afraid he had of retribution, but he said that when the inspectors came to the mines, the first person that saw them would call down in there, and they turn on all the fans and all the cleaners and this sort of thing while the inspector was there. And then when the inspector left, they turn them all off again. And these people are, can you imagine your lungs this guy was 34 years old, had a wife and 2 kids. His lungs are basically turning to rock because of that silica or whatever that they're breathing in. And so, that's not right. No. It's not right that people should have to die to make a living. And the guy said, I make a good living. He made like $75,000 a year, but it's killing him, and he can't work anymore, and he's 34.
My last year of teaching I went out and spent Christmas with my cousins out in West Virginia, at my grandpa's farm. I hadn't been there for 40 years. Wonderful Christmas. And I said to my cousins, well, what are there for jobs around here? They said there are 3 jobs: working in a convenience store, driving a coal truck, or working in the coal mines.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And they pay those guys very well. The problem is they kill them.
Yeah.
My losers of the year in Iowa was the University of Iowa and Iowa State University and the illegal gambling scandals that hit both. The NCAA has since changed that, so you cannot gamble on your own. It rocked it made our state look bad. It was national story for a long time.
But yeah, gambling is a big source of income for NCAA and professional sports, though.
It is.
It's just very hypocritical, I think.
So let's get to local here. The Jesup 2023 Man of the Year. Ding,
Okay.
ding, ding, ding. Sorry, we don't have the music. We'll work on that.
Okay. I chose Mike Fettgetter, great guy, and a couple things. He was instrumental in all that NASA stuff we had at Farmers Day. He organized all of that stuff, made all the calls, all the emails, got the contracts, and found stuff for us. And practically a one-man show for that, and did a tremendous amount of work. And then, I don't know, you've seen the progress on the Veterans Park down here. Well, a lot of that was his doing. We're getting that dirt hauled down there and getting the grass seed planted so that's ready to go whenever they get the funding for everything else. And then the planning of the December Christmas. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more,
Right.
but so he's works with the fire department, got a young family, does all the stuff for Farmers Day, all the stuff for the city, and I know he's paid by the city, but a lot of it is outside of the work time.
Right.
And so I think Jesup would be. You say, okay, Man of the Year, who would we really miss? And for this year, we would miss Mike Fettgetter. If he hadn't been here, things would have been different and not in a good way. And so I'm very proud to know him. I think he's a great guy.
Well, I want you to look over here, Dale. The Jesup 2023 Man of the Year, Mike Fettgetter.
Well, see there?
Great minds.
Both
think
of us
alike.
can't be wrong. Yeah,
That's
so,
right.
All right.
That's right. It is. Although we've talked about different people in all of our I think all the previous awards, this is the first one we've agreed on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You finally come around. So.
I have. You led me back. Yeah. This one, the 2023 Jesup Woman of the Year. Who do you have?
Well, I took Kelly Seahoss, who runs this place, and I think just from an outside observer, I've been in here with you several times in the past year, and many times there are other people meeting here, and other times there are people working in these offices. And then during the day, you see people going in and out, and then all the high school kids, they're able to use this facility, and then her organizing the food trucks that are coming to kind of diversify our taste buds, so Italian and Mexican and different kinds of foods like that. So I think she's done a wonderful job here, and I don't know if the place is making money, if it's supposed to or not, I don't know, but it just seems to me that since they built this building and she's been in charge of it, that it has gone just really, really well, and I don't know if it could have gone any better or not. I don't know what their aspirations were, but I'm really proud of her, that the job she has done to keep this place going and to get it started, and I'm anxious to see what ideas she has for the future. So.
That's a wonderful one. And every week we recognize Kelly at the end of the presentation. Yeah. We're proud to say that they allow us to broadcast from here weekly. And you're right. Kelly is one of the most organized, unflustered. I've never seen her flustered.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, ever. I can come in and say, Kelly, what do you think of this? She's a great resource as well. And more often than not, she'll come with ideas to me.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough of Kelly. That's a great choice. Okay. Her name went through my mind. Dana Hummel. She is on. She works down at Jesup Farmers State Bank, but she's also on the Chamber of Commerce. She does a lot for the community here in town. She's a great organizer, I had both of her children in school. Great mother. Dana is one of the most competitive humans I've ever been around. And she doesn't accept failure.
Yeah.
She wants things, and she wants Jesup to succeed.
Yeah, and that's what makes it work. Is if your goal, a goal like that to make Jesup succeed, be a better place to live. I think that's a worthwhile goal. That's what she's working for. That's the kind of people I like.
But Kelly is, we can't go wrong with either of those two winners.
No,
there, Dave.
I
You're
don't think
right.
so. Yeah. Well, there's others you could choose also, but this is the one that came to the forefront.
Right.
But we have to save some for next year too, as they say.
That's right. That's right. And so we get to the final big awards here. The 2023 International Man of the Year. Who do you have?
Well, I have Anthony Blinken. Do you know who he is?
He is he the Secretary of State?
He's the Secretary of State, and again, this is reaching out into stuff where I don't know everything, but he's been on the news recently, flying back and forth, talking with the Palestinians and talking with the Israelis, and I think he was instrumental in getting the ceasefire so some of the hostages could be removed, and I think he's also working to get the aid into the people in Gaza, and that's an ungodly situation, and trying to sort that out would I would just tear the brains out of anybody, I think. But it just seems to me that he's not bombastic, or he's just a quiet, serious person with some good ideas, and people are listening to him when he talks. And so I think he has done some real good. And again, there's a lot I don't know, but just from what I have seen, I'm pretty impressed. I think maybe he's a guy to keep an eye on. So
the Steve Brown Arts Center has some ties to that conflict, actually, which someday we'll tell you about.
Okay.
On the air, but until this all gets over, we don't want to rock anybody's boat. That's not why we're on here. My winner of the year, or my international, not necessarily winner of the
but
year,
yeah.
The international man of the year is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Because I think Hitler was Time Magazine's Man of the Year once, So it's not that they're popular or good people. It's just that they've made an impact on the world scene. So okay.
Do you know Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yeah, he's the head of Israel, right?
Yes.
Is it Prime Minister is his title, or President?
Prime
Minister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it's Prime Minister.
Yeah.
He is probably the biggest criminal to ever hold that office in Israel. And before that attack in October, was that October 7th, I believe?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
They were set to run him out.
Yeah,
of
he
office.
was in real trouble.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now, he's saying, well, after this conflict, I will deal with that. Well, it doesn't look like the conflict is anywhere near ending.
No.
So, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let's go to the International Woman of the Year.
Okay, well, I picked Caitlin Clark again because I think the impact she's having on women's basketball in this country will carry over and be around the world. And I would be surprised to see her be a basketball ambassador going to Africa, like Louis Armstrong took jazz to Africa years ago. And those kind of people have real impact once they're known around the world. And I see her as having the potential to be that sort of person. And because she seems like she wants to spread the word about women and what women can do and how strong women can be. And so I chose her. I partly because I really, really believe in it, and partly because I don't know many international women that have done a lot. So
Serena,
I have to be honest.
Serena Williams, did a lot for our country. And forgive me for saying this, but if she'd have been white, she'd have got double the coverage that she got for the success she had in women's tennis. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt that Caitlin Clark is going to be recognized. Caitlin Clark, and there was a question on Twitter today: who's going to make the better pro? Records from UConn, who was the Caitlin Clark in high school before Caitlin Clark?
Yeah,
or Caitlin Clark, and Paige Records has had 2 knee injuries.
Yeah,
and she's playing now again this year. And she's having a great year. I talked about Pilly from Utah, Reckers from Yukon, Caitlin Clark from Iowa, and there's a woman from down in Kansas State. Kansas State beat Iowa for the second year in a row. And, they beat them in Iowa City this year, and last year they beat them down in Lawrence, or I think it's, or is it Manhattan? It's a Manhattan.
I think Manhattan is state. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think Lawrence is where the other one is. Yeah.
And so the argument, Caitlin Clark has been advertised. I'm sure Reckers is a little more, is a little disappointed from what Caitlin Clark is. But I'm sure she's making a lot of money at UConn as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, this has been interesting. It took a lot of thought.
Yeah, well,
I thought about these a couple of days before I started writing things down.
Yeah. My woman of the year was Taylor Swift, obviously, for the reasons that we talked about multiple over earlier. So we won't go on. But I enjoyed yours, and after I heard yours, I would change a number of mine.
Oh, would you really?
I would. Yeah.
So, well, it's always interesting to see what different people think.
Yeah. I'm more of a culture person. I mean, I'm not saying cultured.
Yeah.
I like the culture part of it, like Jim Brown.
Yeah.
The A&I, Rustin, Coleman Domingo, and Taylor Swift. Yeah. That stuff.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more political.
Yeah, and mainly because I don't keep up on the modern entertainers or what's going on. I really don't, and I don't care.
I understand. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're coming to you live from downtown Jesup in the annex of Cowork 591 Studios.
Hey.
And a little bit the excuse me, gonna have to cut that. The library news, Little Tot Story Time meets every Thursday at 10:30 for songs and stories and more. Don't forget the Spice Clubs. The December Spice is crunchy cinnamon, perfect for December. Pick up your sample and recipes to try at the Jesup Public Library. Don't forget exercises with friends. Bring your friends every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 8 o'clock. The book club this month meets Monday, December 18th at 1 p.m. And the library book is God Rest Ye Merry Soldiers, A True Civil War Christmas Story. Did you read that, Dale?
Not yet, but I've seen it over there. So.
Do you go to the book club?
No, I don't, but I read a lot of books out of the library. I love the library.
Right.
But no, I usually don't go to the book.
I see.
I don't say usually. I never go. It's not something that really appeals to me. So.
I see they're doing a Books and Brew Club. I might go to that one.
Okay. I shouldn't say it doesn't appeal. Usually it just goes by and I don't think about it. I read the books I want to read, and I guess I don't like assigned reading anymore. But I don't mean to put the book club down.
No.
Because it's I think it's great that it gives people to read and gives them a chance to talk about different things and see things from another point of view. And I used to love to have my students read novels and then talk about, sometimes just a chapter at a time, but to see what one saw that another didn't see. Try to bring up things yourself that maybe they didn't see to get them to think about it. And so I enjoy that sort of thing, though. So I didn't mean to put the book club down. It's just something that I don't.
One of my most enjoyable lessons in school was having my freshman kids read Animal Farm.
Oh, yeah.
And comparing that to the Russian Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to see the growth of freshman students.
Oh, yeah.
As they compared, they would say, oh, Napoleon is Stalin, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Snowball is Trotsky.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you could watch and see lights going off over top of people's heads.
Wonderful time to be a teacher, isn't it, when that happens? Man.
Yes. There's no movie Monday this December. Save the date for the next movie to be announced, January 22nd.
What's the spice this month?
Oh, it was Corinchi cinnamon.
Oh,
I talked about that earlier.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I missed that.
Exercise with friends. We talked about that. The book club closing early, Monday, December 18th at 4:30 for librarian service.
Okay.
Gingerbread People STEM Friday, December 22nd in the community room You must pre-register at the tiny URL Gingerbread to do that. The county extension is sponsoring that. Closed for Christmas holiday, Monday and Tuesday, December 25th and 26th. Back open on the 27th. Got to tell you, Dale, as a basketball coach, I hated Christmas.
Yeah.
It just drove me crazy.
Because you had nothing to do, right?
For
Couldn't have
5
practice.
days.
Yeah.
You know, it took away my passion
Yeah.
for a while, and I had to get that passion back.
Yeah.
So those are the announcements for the Jesup Public Library. Dale, we've got a couple of obituaries from the
Yeah,
White
why don't you
Funeral.
let me read those, and you rest a while.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our first one is for Nicholas J. Weber, and he passed away at his home on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. And funeral services were Tuesday, December 12th at St. Athanasius Catholic Church, and burial at the St. Athanasius Catholic Cemetery, both in Jesup. Military rites were conducted by Pump Shear, American Legion Post 342 of Jesup. They had visitation at the church the night before. Memorials, the families encouraging memorials be directed to the giver's favorite charity order, St. Athanasius Catholic Church or School, or Cedar Valley Hospice. And as always, you can put online condolences at white-mounthope.com. That's the White Funeral Home. Nick was born in Waterloo on August 12, 1947. So same age I am, just a little younger, a couple months. To Francis Joseph Weber and Patricia Ann Brewer Weber. He was the eldest of 13 children. So just think what responsibility he had growing up with all those brothers and sisters. He graduated, I'm sorry.
Sorry, a strong Catholic family.
Yeah.
Forgive me for interrupting.
He graduated from Don Bosco High School, Gilbertville, with a class of 65. Began work at John Deere in Waterloo that September and retired from there in 96. His work at John Deere was interrupted when he was drafted and served a tour of duty with the U.S. Army in Vietnam. He loved farming and purchased his own farm in 1971, and he was united marriage to Nancy Lou Shares on October 21, 1972 in Jesup, and he was a member of St. Athanasius Catholic Church, the Knights of Columbus, Pump Shear, American Legion Post 342, and Fourth Degree Knights of Columbus, and UAW Local 838 in Waterloo. In addition to farming, he loved restoring old tractors. He could fix anything, was known to take scrap metal and create something, maybe steps for a tractor or a snowflake. He loved his 6 grandchildren. Whenever they arrived, all work ceased. He could be found in the crowd cheering them on in softball, volleyball, basketball, soccer, football, and swimming. He and Nancy enjoyed travel adventures together, and no person was a stranger to Nick, whose smile was contagious, and I can vouch for that myself. Nick is survived by his wife Nancy of Jesup, one son Christopher, Dee Dee Weber of Jesup, 2 daughters, Andrea, and her husband's B.J. Van der Linden of Ames, and Stephanie Weber of Jesup, 6 grandchildren, Isabel, Mallory, and Courtney Weber, Lily, Luke, and Owen Van der Linden, and 6 brothers, Frank Weber of Independence, Charles of Jesup, Philip of Fairbank, Dennis of Independence, David Weber of Waterloo, Alfred Weber of Waterloo, and 3 sisters, Kathleen Weber of Hubbard, Mary Sue Moore of Hubbard, Oregon, Mary Sue Moore of Manhattan, Kansas, and Annette Ingalls of Jesup. He was preceded in death by his parents, 2 sisters, Ruth Weber and Jane Story, 1 brother, Michael L. Weber, and 3 brothers-in-law, Colonel Hyman C. Moore, M.D., Kevin Story, and Bruce Zimmerman. And the grandkids describe Papa as hardworking, always positive about every situation, generous with everything special, his time, support, passion, the happiest person we've ever met, and we're so thankful for the time we've gotten with the best Papa we could have ever asked for. We will miss you more than anything. And my personal story about this man is I was on the library board here in town, and we had an opening, and we were looking for a man because that's how you try to make your boards as even as possible, men and women. And so I said, well, there's this guy, and he's always down at the Dairy Cone, getting an ice cream cone when I'm down there, it seems like. But wherever he sees me, he comes up and talks to me like he's known me his whole life, and just the friendliest darn guy, but I really can't pick out his name. And they said, oh, I bet it's Nick Weber. Yeah. And that's who it was. And so I called him about being on the library board. He said, well, Dale, he said, I like that, but it's just no good. But I bet Nancy would be on, so we put Nancy on the phone, and Nancy joined the library board. So cool. I got my mission accomplished. I didn't get a man, but I got a wonderful board member in Nancy. What a wonderful person she is. So I just thought it was so interesting. Oh, yeah, that's Nick Rueber. Just describing It's such a friendly guy. And I honestly don't know how he knew me, but he talked to me like he had known me. I never could figure that out, but just the nicest guy. Very much so.
The year I was at Don Bosco, one of the first people I met, a parent of a student, was Nick. You're right. He came up and started talking to me like we'd known each other for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Nick's smile.
Yeah.
If Dale, we talked about this before we went on air about having an impact in life. We can have the impact that Nick had. We will have a good impact.
Yeah, that is very true. So, okay, our second obituary is Penny A. Everett. She lives in Independence, but she used to live in Jesup. Died at her home Saturday, December 9, following a courageous battle with cancer. She was only 54. And Wednesday, December 13th, was her funeral, and she's being buried at Mount Hope Cemetery in Independence. And visitation was December 12th at White Funeral Home, Independence. Very nice lady. So she had a very short obituary. And those are the two obituaries we have.
Thank you.
Yep.
If you would like to donate a story to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for the event, go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. Or if you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319. That's Jim at stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-0241 and leave a message. Dale, and a lot of this is due to Blake. We had a real success as we did our first live podcast up above the band gazebo. Thank you. I always say pavilion. It's gazebo.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. It was cold. It's hard to stand outside in Iowa in December, and Blake made our technology work. Used his phone for a little bit of it. I don't know if we'll go outside. Perhaps next year we'll talk to the public library or whoever does the soup supper down the basement and do it down there.
Yeah.
And we'll have more people around us that way and can watch us. We'll get more people to learn about the podcast as well.
That'd be great.
But it was a great success. As always, we'd like to talk about one of our sponsors, Donnie Jacobson Jacobson Fabrication Repair. Donnie recently made 2 signs for us, an electric lit sign for us and a metal sign for us. We're using it outside right now, outside of Cowork 591 Studios. Donnie has been an incredible supporter of the Steve Brown Arts Center, and he has been a great success, and I'm so happy for Donnie and his business. He married a local Jesup girl and a writer girl, and he is, we've talked about this. There's some great business people in our community, and Donnie is one of those, Dale. We had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, if you remember.
Yep.
And I asked Donnie. I was out there recently, and I asked Donnie if he'd listened to the podcast. So he said, "I'll never listen to that because I'll regret not saying one thing or saying one thing."
Yeah.
So
that's our life every week, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. You're right. I go home and think, why didn't I say that, or why did I say that?
Well, maybe Blake will cut it out. That's what I wish for. So.
That's a good point. We're running out of time this year, so I'd like to thank everybody that supported the Steve Brown Arts Center this year, and we are working to make it bigger and better. I'm Jim Gillespie. Thanks to co-host Dale Rueber. Thanks to our producers, Blake Tempus. I don't know what I would do with without either one of these gentlemen. Dale and Blake are make this what it is. And thanks to Kelly C. Haas at Cowork 591. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. Remember, each day is about little victories.